possibilities of her traveling to Seoul, because I know from firsthand experience that sometimes because of an injury, we need that extra gymnast right there to step into the alternate spot.
Well, speaking of injuries, Do Yamashiro, about 9 days before the trials, had a bad ankle injury and she could not compete. That gave Christy Phillips the opportunity.
Same thing happened with Sabrina Marr. Congenital back problem, and
a couple of Don Peters gymnasts that did not make the Olympic team.
Setting up for a middle tumbling run. This is a new floor routine for Christy. Double twist, punch front. She tumbles right back in the other direction. Knee back handspring. Full twist, punch front. Nice combination.
The tumbles in one direction and then the other, Kathy, are becoming very popular.
It's definitely the trend of the future. Last tumbling pass and a double twist. It's a nice new routine for her.
Christy Phillips, of course, with that big smile, has always had tremendous presence on the floor. Crowds have always related to her in that respect.
Now watch this middle tumbling run. It's actually 2 runs combined. She does a double twist, punch into a front somersault, rebounds and goes right back in the other direction. Takes a lot of endurance. And again, another punch front somersault.
And is always a source of pride for amateur athletes.
Christy Phillips, hopefully headed to Seoul. And we'd like to introduce a gentleman who at many different levels, many different locations, has coached many of our Olympic men's gymnasts, and that is A.B. Grossfeld, the head coach of the men's team. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
And also including the 1984 men's Olympic team gold, which has to be a highlight for you and all the guys.
Certainly was.
Right now on the floor, as A.B. will comment for us, our first look on the parallel bars. That's Scott Johnson.
A.B., are you counting on Scott to be a stabilizing force as a team leader?
Yeah, he's our team leader and certainly the most experienced on the team. Scott aggravated his hand slightly at the trials last week, so he'll most likely do a modified routine today.
Now in '84, he was the leadoff man in all the events. I'm sure that's going to be different this year.
Right, he'll probably be near the end of most events. There's we call that a peach basket. We do a flip underneath the bar, and there's a forward swinging pirouette. That's called a stütz, which is a German word. And this is a back upright straddle cut L, which he never uses, but he's modifying his routine. That's why he had a little wobble.
And in finishing second at the all-around in Salt Lake City, he did tie for first in this event.
Right, he's tremendous on those. And a double tuck. Yeah, he's still nursing that hand of his a little bit.
Also, I think what's interesting to note is in '84, it was the first 3 gymnasts that went up in the lineup that really made the difference in terms of the team victory, going head-to-head with the Chinese.
That's right.
Do you see that happening here in Seoul, or what do you think the key will be to a good team success?
The whole team this time. Last time, the real key was the last 3 scores, but this time it's going to take a total team effort.
A.B., stick with us for a moment because we'll be seeing Charles Lakes in a few moments. Right now, more rhythmic gymnastics with Michelle Berube. Michelle, of course, we mentioned her a moment ago when Diane Simpson was on the floor. Michelle is from Rochester, Michigan.
And Michelle competed in 1984 at the Olympic Games, which it was the first Olympics that they had rhythmic gymnastics. She took some time off, but basically decided to retire. He made the decision to come back, and it was a good decision at that.
In rhythmic gymnastics, we've seen the hoop. We're seeing the ribbon. You also could see a rope, clubs, the ball, many different apparati that they can operate with, as Kathy mentioned a few moments ago.
She has a very exotic look, and she uses it very well with her expression. Also, her music choice goes right along with it.
Maybe this particular apparatus the most attractive of all of them in terms of visual effects out there on the floor.
I have to say it's my favorite event of all the events. They have 4 apparatus that they use. Beautiful routine.
Michelle Berube. In our second look at rhythmic gymnastics, Charlie Lakes is coming up in a moment. And just the mention of that name seems to bring smiles to people's faces.
Well, I said it at Pan American Games that he is a gymnast that likes to play gymnastics. He's very, very talented. And in fact, I've heard his work habits are a little bit different than some of the other gymnasts. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, Charlie, I've never seen Charlie upset. He works real hard, but he works very quick. And sometimes Charlie needs to do more than he does because he does a lot of things easy, but he's certainly a performer that can raise anybody to their feet. He's very dynamic, explosive, and he's extremely talented, and sometimes he doesn't perform up to his best, but he's certainly got ready for the trials, and he won our U.S. Olympic final trials. There's a really difficult tumbling pass, a 1 3/4 running front somersault, and an Arabian 1 3/4 somersault, one pass, very hard. There's a very flighty full, and a punch 1 3/4 somersault.
He was first in the all-around at Salt Lake City. Also duplicated that on the high bar, what he says is his favorite event. Parallel bars he likes as well. Well, he was up near the top in many different events, showing his versatility in the Olympic trials.
Well, we'll be counting real highly on Charlie at the Olympic Games since he was our champion, and certainly he's one of our leaders also, behind Scott.
And a nice high tuck double back dismount.
And that's what we want to see, a nice stick at the end.
A.B., thank you so much. All the best in Seoul, and we're enjoying watching your gentlemen perform today.
Thank you very much.
A.B. Grossfeld, the head coach of the men's Olympic gymnastics team. Next up is a very special story that took place a week ago. Living in Salt Lake City, competing and making the Olympic team in Salt Lake City, Melissa Marlowe. She was actually born in Belgium, but boy, the folks in Salt Lake had the banners out. There was pressure on her, Kathy, to win at her own venue a week ago, and she got it done.
You couldn't have written a better script for a more exciting Olympic trials, and particularly for missing. Came down right to the last event. This is a beautiful event for her. Look at the long line in her swing. Her toe point is just gorgeous. Reverse hecht. She's got all the difficulty in the routine as well. Dismount. It's a nice Comanese dismount.
16-year-old Melissa Marlowe out of Salt Lake City. So the folks here in Charlotte are enjoying what they've seen so far. And in a moment, we'll tackle again the issue of the U.S. Olympic women's gymnastics team and that coaching situation. Welcome back to Charlotte. The women's and men's gymnastics team exhibiting their skills for us here this afternoon. Bob Carpenter back with Kathy Johnson. Kathy, as we mentioned earlier, there's been a big change as far as the coaching of the women's team in the last week since the trials.
Well, there's always been debate on how the team should be coached, whether it should be the individual coaches or to have a national team coach. This year, the controversy was that it became public. And, you know, Bella Caroli really pushed the issue that Don Peters shouldn't be the coach. And it went so far that Don just felt he should resign for the better of the team and to allow them to win the medals he thinks they're capable of doing.
So that happened on Monday of the past week. And right here in Charlotte, as some of the coaches gather for the Olympics preparation, Kathy had a chance to talk to them about the situation from the coach's view.
Well, first of all, Kathy, I was an ardent Don Peters supporter. I felt very comfortable with Don coaching Missy, and I know that Missy felt very comfortable with Don coaching her. I felt like we needed one leader on the floor that could unify the team.
I think the whole situation is unfortunate. However, by the time we get to the Olympic Games, if we're not prepared by then it's too late anyway, and I think we'll all be ready to do our job regardless of who's the coach.
I think it allows us to really stay in touch with our athletes throughout the games, and it's going to allow our athletes to stay on their same schedules. You know, the schedules that got them on the Olympic team will be maintained, and so therefore they don't have to really make any coaching adjustments into the games.
Probably the major problem might be the lineup. I think that we've have a pretty fair system worked out, so hopefully we'll get through that without any problem. The individual coaches have to be able to work together. We have to swallow ego and work for what's best for the United States.
My answer probably, you know, and everybody knows because I was fighting for that very, very hard, and I believe that's a system that's going to take us a big step forward. I'm talking about not the present. I'm talking for the future. And I'm talking to all those individual, young and talented coaches who are out there and who are just waiting for the sign or real sign to turn them on and to produce and push themselves to produce a national team member. Then they're going to get the major professional satisfaction being named national team coaches.
And as you saw on the graphic, he is the coach of 5 of the 8 members of our women's gymnastics Olympic team. We'll hear more from Bella as we see more of his girls in action in a moment. Welcome back to Charlotte on what has to be an afternoon of celebration of sorts as the Olympic team has been picked. They are getting ready for competition in Seoul. Bella Caroli certainly is a big part of that with 5 of the top 8 girls. And Bella, welcome back and thank you for joining us. First of all, what is your reaction to what happened in the last week in regard to the resignation of Don Peters? Your reaction to that action?
Well, actually, does not make me happy seeing somebody resign for whatever reason. But sure makes me happy knowing now the kids are having coaches behind them who are prepared them previously, who really help them to get to the point to be competitive. And that's categorically toward the best interest of the athletes. Knowing another fact, I believe, you know, is we really done a tremendous step forward. Disappearing a position which was held for a long, long time from very certain people. Now there is an open field for all those young coaches who are out there and willing to work hard and to get the major satisfaction on their life professionally, to be out and assist their own kids and at the same time to get the title national team coaches. I believe the national pride and the professional motivation going to be tremendous, which is going to finalize with excellent performers, good kids, and very competitive international performances.
Okay, now from a serious subject to one that is pretty much fun, and that is watching Shelley Stack.
Well, that's always fun watching Shelley, no question about it. She's a little bubbling little thingy who has her own personality, very, very different than other ones.
Is she the same in workout as she is in competition? She's so aggressive and seems so excited to be doing gymnastics.
That's exactly what comes through her little personality and her little being. Is a bubbly kid who still holds the youthish excitement of joy, the tremendous satisfaction what she does. She always does in the most positive way. I always love, you know, to see this type of kids, but you know, with the age and with the routines and with all those long hours, sometimes the joy disappears a little bit. But sure did not disappear from Shelley yet. That's for sure.
She's very solid so far. Beautiful pass there. At what point did you feel Shelley was a strong possibility for the Olympic team?
This event is not her strongest event, the beam, even though she became so strong and sturdy, and she can have a positive contribution for our good beamers. But floor, bars, gosh, she can swing bar like any other world-class gymnast. Bar for tumbling, good floor, with excellent wall. And I believe, you know, in this condition, she's really going to have a great contribution for our team effort. That is more. Double! Hey! She's stuck it. All right, let's
That's a smile that will win over some fans of this particular event in Seoul. It has already won over a good part of our country. It's a face you'll be seeing a lot of in the coming months.
Shelley really shows the qualities necessary for this team to do well, fighting for every 10th of a point. Watch her go for the stick on this dismount.
What about some of the other girls on this Olympic team, Bella? Most notably those that you are most intimately involved with, the 5.
Well, all 5 of them are different kids, and it's exciting to work with them, even though sometimes you really have to adjust your personality and your methods according to their own personality. Like Brandy, very physical, extremely powerful, but sure you have to watch very carefully because she's a little bit fragile, still fragile on the outgoing aspect, on the aggressiveness. You have to adjust always in all your methods to be just proper to her. Michelle, oh, you can play with her. She's a little game, you know, you can feel like a little toy. Always you can have satisfaction, but at the same time, hard worker.
Well, we're looking out toward the floor.
Right.
She is going to perform for us right now.
Well, you can see the power pack here, and you can see a tremendous physical performance.
What do you consider her best event? Would it be vaulting or floor?
Probably vaulting and floor. Both of them are powerful events of her based on her tremendous physical strength and explosiveness.
I've heard many people say that her compulsory vault could be the best in the world.
Well, I would consider, certainly.
What has she had to work the most on in these past few months?
Probably beam and the bars. There were the two events where she needed to have more work and more consistency. I believe now she's getting to the look out. Oh my God.
Beautiful pike full twisting double back.
Well, that's all about when you can come out and perform something so physical, so powerful. That's impressive. No matter what kind of other combinations you are having, but with this type of high difficulty performances, you are impressing, no matter public and judges alike. And she's a good dancer too. It's a very pleasant personality on the floor.
This is a fairly new floor routine for her.
Oh, yeah.
Whip over through the double back. She has all the difficulty that she needs. Are you planning on making any changes before the games in her routine?
Small changes we're gonna do, especially on the dance combination. We might introduce a few little flowers in it, which might give her a little more credibility as good dancer too, not just powerful tumbler. Look at this, her tumbling pass is for last pass. For dismount is extremely difficult. Pulling back out, and she almost nailed it. Even over-rotated. That is something for them.
It's what it's going to take to be competitive with Eastern Europeans.
Right.
I think explosiveness, the key word that Bella mentioned a few moments ago. The explosiveness along with the talent. That's something that will really get noticed on an international level.
Look at the power here.
But
super lift off the floor, and she still continues to rise throughout the somersault.
Beautifully done. Bella, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
More coming up from Charlotte at the Carolinas Invitational on USA.
Michelle Berube.
Welcome back to Charlotte. We're watching at the new Charlotte Coliseum here, the Carolinas Invitational version of women's and men's gymnastics. The Olympic trials a week ago. The team has been formed on both the men and the women's side. And today we're just celebrating the fact that they did make it. They're ready for Seoul. And some principal performers are involved. It'll be there at Seoul. Scott Johnson is the #2 overall man from the Olympic trials. He's with Kathy Johnson.
Hi, I'm here with Scott, and Scott is the leader of this team. He was #2 at the Olympic trials, and now he's a 2-time Olympian. He was a gold medalist in 1984. How do these Olympics differ for you?
Well, of course, I'm very, very excited about it. There was no question that the '84 Olympic Games was great, winning a gold medal and everything, but that, you know, once that was over, I set my sights on 1988, and I thought that it was going to be over for me when I broke my hand about 2 months ago, and I'm just so excited that I was able to bounce back from that and still make the Olympic team. So this is my second Olympian. I like the phrase 2-time Olympian. I'm really psyched about it.
Well, how is your hand doing, and how will it be in Seoul?
Well, you know, it's doing really well. I still got to be kind of careful about, you know, my training schedule and the type of pressure that I exert on it. But it's pretty much 100%. I just want to make sure that I don't get hurt again. I want to win another medal at these next Olympic Games.
What are your expectations for the team and you as an individual?
Well, I think we got a really strong team. We have a young team, a little less experienced than the team we had in 1984, but they're a tough team. They're a great bunch of guys. I think if we're real healthy and hit 100%, I think we do have a chance at a medal. Myself personally, well, first of all, I want to do good for the team. Second of all, I'm going to do the best I can so that I can win an individual medal.
Thank you, Scott. And here on my right, we have the guy who finished #1 at the Olympic trials, Charles Lakes. And you're the guy, I don't know if you know it, but I've been calling you the free spirit of the team. You have a little bit different attitude going into competition, and it just seems like you're really enjoying yourself.
Yeah, you know, I think of gymnastics more as a performance than the competition aspects of it. I love to just kind of play to the crowd, and I think the judges enjoy that as well.
What do you think will be your strength that you can add to the team going to Seoul?
I hope the dynamicism of my routines add a little life to the team, if anything.
How do you work on consistency? Because I've heard you have short workouts and you get them over with, but yet you showed your consistency at the trials.
Well, actually, at the beginning of a training period, I'll do a lot of routines to get to a point where I can do the shorter quantity workouts and higher quality.
Well, great. Thanks. You look super, and good luck in Seoul. And we'll be back in a few minutes after these messages.
The Carolinas Invitational featuring gymnastics this afternoon, and we'll get a look at Scott Johnson, the leader, if you will, of the U.S. Olympic team in gymnastics, the men's squad. He was second in the all-around at Salt Lake City a week ago. And Kathy Johnson, we'll get a look at Scott operating here on the floor exercise.
Scott is one of the most talented gymnasts I've ever known.
7 years on the senior national team and 22 total medals in his years of competing at the U.S. Olympic Festival. More than any other ever.
This is one of my favorite events for Scott. He's so springy. Full in, and he just went right off the mat. Again, those are things that you really got to work hard not to do at the games, because every 10th of a point counts. Every step, or out of bounds, or falter, or balance break, it's a 10th of a point off, or maybe 2. Front tuck, punch front tuck. It's a nice combination here on the floor. Just press handstand. Full twisting dive roll right into a straddle jump. There's this balance requirement, scale. His last tumbling run, double tuck and a perfect landing. Exactly what you want to do in competition.
Scott Johnson will not have to do much more than that to perform at his optimum. Another one of those great gymnasts operating out of Lincoln, Nebraska. More coming up from Charlotte in a moment on USA.
The young lady was first in floor.
The Carolinas Invitational on USA continues. And joining us, Bob Carpenter, Kathy Johnson, and Mark Lee from the Rocky Mountain Gymnastics. And you were very proud of the way that Melissa Marlowe got things done in the old hometown of Salt Lake City last Saturday.
Well, we certainly were. She performed very well in front of her home crowd. We were all very excited, and I'm sure there were about 10,000 people in there that were just really rooting for her.
And it's not like she had things clinched at the start. She started and ended in the number 6 position.
Well, actually, she started the meet in number 11, and then moved up to 6th, and then held on, and it was very exciting.
I think it's only appropriate that we bring you up here right before she's getting ready to go on balance beam, since that was her last event at the Olympic trials, and she needed, what, a 9.6, I believe, to clinch the spot on the Olympic team, and she came through.
Yeah, she did. Beam has a tendency to be her nemesis. She has lost a few meets because of what happened on balance beam, and it was kind of ironic that she was going to end on balance beam at trials. It was going to be the make or break, and boy, she came through.
Mark, stay with us. We'll see Missy performing in just a moment. But first, a quick switch over to the men's team, where Kevin Davis will be performing for us on the high bar.
Kevin's always exciting in competition, and again here on high bar. I have to say here, I trained with Kevin for many years at Atlanta School of Gymnastics, so I've known him since he was about 12 or 13 years old and watched him really progress, and he's come a long, long way. Beautiful reverse heck from one arm. Nice extended swing. Nice jam through dismount. And a double layout dismount. Gone a little bit easy there.
Well, Kevin Davis is the one who told me that for the last week they've been in the gym acting like gymnasts, but he doesn't have to try very hard. He is outstanding on the big bar.
Here's a beautiful move, a one-arm reverse hect. Well, it's really tough coming off the Olympic trials. I'm going to take a look at his dismount. This is where he took it a little bit easy. Kind of open pike and then open into layout. Now, as I was saying, coming off Olympic trials is so tough that next week, he said, it saps you of all your adrenaline, all your excess energy. And he went in the gym, tried to do a straddle jump, which is a very basic move, and it was hard.
Yeah, he did take a couple of days off, he did acknowledge, and got away from things, got back after it around Wednesday of this week, knowing that this exhibition was coming up on Saturday. You saw Mark Lee sitting with us, and here is his protege, Melissa Marlowe.
She mounts with a press and then moves into a planche.
She is so beautiful on this event, and this is one of the reasons. Look at the flexibility, the beautiful toe point.
Mark, did you two talk last week about what it would take for her to win, or at least make the team, because she had so much of that local pressure in Salt Lake City?
Well, we trained for that. Every single day in the gym, we did one routine that was simulated for trials. And we stopped the entire gym. We pulled all the classes and we made them surround the event. And they would scream her name and cheer. We pulled people off the street for that, those fun routines. And so for 3 weeks, she performed one routine on every event in front of a crowd that was actually very obnoxious. So she was used to having quite a few people paying a lot of attention to her.
And thus she was pretty focused by the time the big time came.
Yeah, I think that there was nothing after that 3 weeks of training. There was nothing that could have distracted her.
Beautiful balance and flexibility. This is an event where Missy is so beautiful on it, but yet at times she's had trouble here. And I understand you have Tammy Biggs in the gym, and she's done a tremendous job.
Tammy Biggs is one of the very, very best, and she has really helped Missy Marlowe.
Taking a little easy on the dismount, and I don't blame her. It's so important at this time, this close on to the Olympic Games, to not take any chances whatsoever for injuries. She's come a long way on this event. Back handspring, layout, step out. Really works the landing.
Yeah, we did. We played it a little bit safe on the dismount here. We haven't worked out real hard this week. We wanted to come down a little bit, so we toned the dismount down just a little bit and played a little safe so we can start training next week.
Well, Mark Lee, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck to you and Missy as you get ready for the big show over in Seoul.
Well, we're looking for it very much.
Okay, that's Mark Lee. We'll return to Charlotte in a moment with more gymnastics exhibitions from the Carolinas Invitational. Well, back here in Charlotte, a little interlude in the action, and the men are doing a vault exhibition for us. We just saw Scott Johnson go flying through the air after Charlie Lakes did the same. And we'll get a look at some of the performers on the other side of the floor.
Well, they're giving the audience the all-around flavor. They're showing some of the vaulting event.
There's Wes Suter.
Handspring front vault.
They call him the big guy. He's 5'10", 160.
Which is very big for a gymnast. Most of the gymnasts, the male gymnasts, range between anywhere from 5'3" to 5'5" or 5'6". There are some that are 5'7".
Dominic Minicucci. So we've seen a Cornhusker and now one of those Fighting Illini on the vault. Charlie Lakes is next. What a flamboyant performer he is. He has a hobby of drawing cartoons. In fact, he's done some of it commercially and has been rather successful.
Beautiful handspring front pike. Excellent landing.
He also has a recording studio in his home. He obviously is a very diverse young man in terms of interests that take up his time. Another look at Scott Johnson.
Layout super high. A lot of height on the ball.
Wes Suter. And of course, anytime you talk about the gymnast from Lincoln, Nebraska, Kathy, you have to mention Francis Allen, the great coach at the university there. And what an outstanding program they've built over the years with scholarships, equipment, and now great athletes. Jim Hartung, of course, is